You know what the biggest lie we tell ourselves is? That change occurs naturally. Routines are overrated, and most of us get them completely wrong. You think that by now, after having traveled to 3 different countries for 3 different years, I'll have it all figured out, right? That I know exactly how to jump back into routines, adjust effortlessly, and start strong. But here's the thing, no matter how many times I've done this, it's always hard. The idea of rebuilding habits from scratch, of stepping out of what's familiar and comfortable, it's intimidating. Starting anything new, whether it's a phase of life, a new city, a new job, or even adjusting to new goals, can feel overwhelming. But what if I told you that routines aren't the problem? That is how we think about routines that holds us back. Change is hard, nothing to discuss that. It disrupts everything we've carefully pieced together. For years, I've relied on certain routines, my morning rituals, study schedules, even the way I plan my meals for school. They've worked, they've been reliable, and they make me feel like I have some sense of control. But here's the catch. Just because something works doesn't mean it's the best thing for you right now. Comfort zones can be traps. They make us resistant to change, even when we know deep down that growth requires discomfort. This whole summer for me has been very unstructured. However, stepping back into university life, it actually made me realize that it wasn't so unstructured after all. There had been some routines that I had been clinging to that actually no longer served me. I had gotten used to going to sleep quite late, but this just didn't fit the life I was gonna start living right now in Berlin. Actually, that's okay. Change is a chance to experiment, to find new ways of thriving. Many of us say that we want to change, but deep down, we're actually very terrified. The thing about change is that we don't fear change as such, but it's the fear of failing that actually is scary. Let's be honest, creating habit is often painted as this life-changing, empowering thing. But when you're in the middle of trying to do it, it feels anything but. The hardest part is convincing yourself to show up for it. And we blame ourselves. The problem isn't us. The real problem is the all or nothing mentality we've been taught to have. We think we need to go from 0 to 100 overnight. We need to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and suddenly become the most productive versions of ourselves. That is not how it works. Habits don't thrive on extremes. They thrive on consistency. Small baby steps that feel manageable and build on each other. For example, this week, I just started with one simple change, trying to go to sleep before 11, so I could wake up energized for my classes. I knew I couldn't go back to sleeping at 9 a.m. like it used to, but I could start somewhere, and that's where the magic happens. Small habits stacking up over time. It's a very underrated tip to start small, but it's the most helpful one. Don't try to change your entire day at once. Choose one habit. Then, once it feels like second nature, build on it. And in the process, we need to also remember to be kind to ourselves. I know too often when I used to fail on any habit that I tried to implement, I would be so hard on myself and I would feel like a complete failure each and every time.
Oh my god, guys, I just got the greatest news ever. I just received an email. I have an internship. After many no's and many applications that have not been responded, I got an internship. And I'm so happy because I need this internship to actually finish my degree. I can't actually believe it. That banana bread that I made, it's a new sourdough banana bread recipe that I was testing. It tastes very good, but I think the texture is not there, so I have to figure out a way to actually make it cake-like, you know. Anyways, I'm gonna go do some editing. Let's go.
I'm slowly getting better at realizing that days are not black and white. The good things are just around the corner. The same day I was overthinking everything, but the same day I received the news about my internship, and suddenly I was motivated again. This just comes to show that days are a shade of grey. And when we do habits, it's the same thing. Some days will be harder than others, but that's all part of the process. But when your process doesn't look like what others' process does, it makes you feel like your own progress is too slow and like you're not doing enough. But what works for someone else won't always work for you.
I've been craving orange for a while, so this is kind of nice. It also gives a lot of winter autumn vibe.
Social media is full of people showcasing the perfect routine, their hashtag grinding life schedule. It's tempting to think if it works for them, it must work for me as well. But the truth is that routines are something that are deeply personal. They should reflect your needs, your goals, and your life. This is a time for you to experiment with different things. If waking up at 6 a.m. doesn't work for you, don't force it. If you thrive better working in the evening, embrace that. The only way to create a routine that sticks is to make it yours. I've tried different forms of study, from being completely flexible to having very rigid time blocks. And guess which one worked?
I really like this one. Let's continue doing some editing. Then I have to do some readings for a presentation that I have to do.
The answer is none of them. They didn't work until I adjusted them to fit my energy levels and commitments. Some days I needed the structure. I needed to time block the study sessions I had so I could actually finish all my readings. Other days I could be more flexible with my time, have some time off for just myself. And that's the point with routines. They are a work in progress, something that you can readjust every day if you have to. Don't be afraid to try things. The goal isn't perfection, it's finding what works for you. Pay attention to what feels natural and energizing for you. Some days you might need something more structured than others. And that doesn't mean that one day was better than the other. It just means that some days you might need a routine that is different from the one yesterday. And learning what those routines are on different days is something that doesn't just happen overnight. It has taken me a while to actually figure out how to study, where I should edit instead of studying. We have to think of habits as planting seeds. You don't see the tree grow overnight, do you? But every time you water it, it inches closer to becoming stronger and unshakable. To form a habit is not about how fast you can build them. It's about how steadily you can nurture them. We tend to become very obsessed with results. I know personally I struggle a lot with this. If I don't see something immediately how I pictured it in my mind, it's hard for me to keep going. And once I check something off my list, instead of maybe celebrating those little victories, I tend to just forget them. While results are a way of figuring out if something is working or not, what helps you actually maintain a habit is falling in love with the process. And that can be hard in itself. Because how can you love something that makes you feel so uncomfortable? How can you love something that doesn't feel right now? How can you love something that makes you feel like you're just not good enough?
So guys, I just got back from working this job. I was gifted some pastries and I'm excited to try one of them right now for a snack. Cross my fingers I do get the job. Now let's try one of these. Let's see what trickles my fancy today. We have this ricotta one. Ooh, it smells very good. Then we have this pistachio filled one. And then one of their best sellers. I don't know what you call it, but it's the vanilla flavor one because the pistachio one is the one that they tend to sell out. And then we also got a savory one to try, which is this bechamel and spinach. But I think I'm gonna try this cream one. I haven't had pistachio desserts before, so I usually don't like cream on my stuff, but I mean, we have to try this. That is so good. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Again, not a cream gown, but I'm gonna go enjoy these while I continue doing some work because we have a lot. God, this is good.
To be honest, I got so frustrating when I got the message that I didn't get the job. I was already starting to plan what my new routine was gonna be like when I had the job. For a second there, I felt like giving up. I was already struggling with creating a new routine, that when I didn't get it, I thought I had done something very wrong. I felt like I didn't have anything figured out. I'm used to talking myself down whenever things go wrong, but I'm learning to slowly shift how I talk to myself whenever I hit a roadblock. Instead of telling myself, why can't I get this right? I ask myself, what can I adjust to make this easier? What can I do to calm myself down? Is it reading a good book? Is it editing? Is it maybe just taking a few seconds to think about it and realize that it's not that deep? Or is it just simply closing the book and choosing to call it an early night? As the first week of my university slowly started to come to an end, I've come to realize that habits on their own aren't enough. They need a system to support them. A system is like the framework that keeps your habits in place. Without it, even the best intentions can often fall apart. I could choose to the habit of making my lunches before school, because I know otherwise I would forget to even bring them, because often during lunch I'm on a rush, and I know that about myself. I knew that I had to get up earlier in the mornings to accomplish this, that I had to shop during the week sometimes to get some things that I needed, and that weekly shopping might not be in the cards for me this year. Putting such systems in place just makes habits easier to stick to. They take some of the decision making out of the process. And we know that mentally that can be the most challenging part. A little tip for you is to design your environment to work with you and not against you. Our environment plays a huge role in how successful we are at sticking to those habits. If your space is cluttered, it's going to be a lot harder to focus when you want to study. Some people like to spread the message that it's all about willpower, when the reality is that it's not that some have more willpower than others. We as humans always tend to gravitate to what is the simplest choice. What's important is to build upon a system that works for us, to adjust, to implement little tweaks that can help you stay on track. These small changes can actually make more of a difference than you actually realize. You have the power to change. And the thing is, you need to realize that there's also going to be setbacks. Because no matter how much we plan or prepare, sometimes there's going to be some days when things that just don't go as expected. Maybe you overslept, or missed a workout, or didn't feel motivated to study. When I used to plan something that I didn't accomplish that day, I used to beat myself up a lot. I'll think, what's the point if I can't even stick to this, to even try anything else? But setbacks aren't failures. They are feedback. They're opportunities to learn what's working and what isn't, and adjust accordingly. And when they work, celebrate those little wins. I've come to realize that it's not so much about completing a habit, but it's also about recognizing the effort that it took to do so. These small wins are proof that you're showing up, even when it's not perfect. And showing up is always the hardest part. It's not about lacking discipline. It's about showing up for yourself and no one else. That's why when you're building habits, it's easy to get caught up in what you're doing. Are you exercising enough? Are you studying everything you need to? But you know what's more important? Is understanding why you're doing the routine or habit that you've chosen. The why is the thing that will keep you going when you get stuck. is what gives your habits meaning and what makes them feel worthwhile. What makes them feel authentically yours. Suddenly, the habit doesn't become something you're forcing yourself to do. It's something that becomes connected to your goals, your values, and the person you want to become. This is something that's actually very top of mind right now for me, as it is my last year of university. I ask myself, what habits do I want to implement to my life? I want to be able to give voice to the voiceless. I want to be able to explore my different passions, and I love doing that through content creation. Creating content that resonates with people and helping others find who they are. And that's what I want to create with my YouTube channel. A safe space for everyone to come when life just becomes so hard, because it often does. This week, I was truly reminded that thriving isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to step outside of what's comfortable, even when it's hard. It's about trying, failing, and trying again. It's about embracing change, seeing it as an opportunity to grow. There's a quote that has been on my mind a lot this week, and that is that growth and comfort cannot coexist. Thriving is about choosing growth, even when it's uncomfortable. It means letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing what could. Change isn't easy, but it's where we grow. And as hard as it feels, I promise it's worth it. You don't have to change everything at once to thrive. It's about starting small, experimenting, and trusting that every little step you take is leading you somewhere beautiful that you haven't even realized yet. Here's my challenge for you this week. Take one more step, just one. Whether it's waking up 10 minutes earlier, drinking an extra glass of water, or just spending 5 minutes journaling. Pick a habit and commit to it. You don't have to start changing everything overnight to start thriving. And you don't have to wait for a certain day or the beginning of the year to implement that change. You can create a habit whenever you want. Growth isn't about speed, it's about direction. Every small step you take is a step towards unlocking your full potential. You are capable of so much more than you think, and you deserve to thrive.